Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Imagine this, you're listening to a podcast in English and you can understand almost everything without needing to pause or rewind every few seconds. What if I told you that this skill could be within your reach?
It's not just a fantasy. Today we're diving into one of the most crucial yet often overlooked skills when learning English listening. Whether you're just starting out or you've been learning English for a while, this episode will give you some powerful tools and tips to help you become a more confident listener in any situation.
Exactly. By the end of this episode, we want you to feel ready to tackle any English conversation, whether you're chatting with a friend, listening to a podcast, or even understanding your favorite English TV shows. You'll be armed with strategies that help you go from struggling to understanding everything clearly.
Okay, let's begin by addressing a big question. Why does listening even matter? Well, if you think about it, from the very moment we were born, listening was the first skill we developed. Before we could speak, our brains were already working to understand sounds, patterns, and eventually words.
That's right, Brian. Listening is the foundation of communication. Even before we say our first words, we're soaking in information from the world around us. As babies, we learn by listening to the people around us. Fast forward to adulthood, and we're still constantly processing information through listening, whether it's through conversations, news, or media. It's the most essential way we understand and connect with the world.
Exactly. So you can see how listening isn't just another skill, it's the foundation of everything else. Think of it like the base of a pyramid. When you improve your listening, you're not just improving that one skill, you're also helping with your speaking, reading, and writing. They're all connected.
That's a great analogy. The better you get at listening, the better you'll be at speaking and writing. You start noticing patterns in how people use language, how they phrase things, and even how they structure their sentences. And guess what? You'll start using these things in your own speech and writing without even realizing it.
Now there's an important distinction we need to make between hearing and listening. It's easy to think they're the same thing, but they're not. Hearing is just the physical process of sound entering your ears. Listening, on the other hand, is an active skill. It involves focusing on what's being said and understanding the meaning behind the words.
Yes, it's all about being engaged. When you're actively listening, you're paying attention to context, tone, and the overall message. For example, when you're listening to a podcast, you want to understand not only the words, but also the feelings behind them, the context, and what the speaker is trying to communicate beyond the surface level.
Great point, Nancy. I remember when I was learning Spanish. I could hear people talking all around me, but I didn't always understand what they were saying. I would hear the words, but I couldn't catch the full meaning. Then I started practicing active listening. Instead of focusing on every single word, I trained myself to listen for key phrases or overall themes.
I had a similar experience with French. At first, I was overwhelmed by how fast people spoke and how many different words I didn't understand, but then I focused on the bigger picture instead of getting stuck on individual words. I listened for the context, the tone, and the flow of the conversation, and little by little I started to pick up more and more.
That's exactly it. Active listening can be challenging at first, but it's so rewarding once you get the hang of it. You'll find that you understand more of the conversation as you begin to focus on the broader message, rather than stressing over each word.
Now let's talk about some common challenges English learners face when it comes to listening. One of the biggest hurdles, especially for beginners, is keeping up with native speakers. Native speakers tend to speak quickly, they use slang, and of course they have various accents. It can feel like you're constantly falling behind.
Definitely. I remember feeling this way when I first started learning French. Native speakers speak at lightning speed, and I often had no idea what they were saying. But here's the good news, you can absolutely do this. With practice, you'll start to catch up and keep pace with them.
Absolutely. So what can you do to tackle this challenge? One of the best things you can do is start slow. Find resources like podcasts made specifically for English learners that speak clearly and at a slower pace. Once you get comfortable with those, you can gradually move on to more advanced content.
Yes, there are tons of podcasts out there designed just for learners, where the speech is slower and the vocabulary is simplified. The key is to start with content that's at your level, and then challenge yourself little by little. Over time, you'll notice how the sentences flow, how native speakers connect words, and how different accents come into play.
That's right, and it's important to repeat things. Go back and listen to the same content a few times if you need to. Don't be afraid to pause, rewind, and listen again. Each time you'll catch something new and your comprehension will improve.
Now that we've talked about the challenges, let's get into some practical tips for success. First off, you need to build your listening stamina. Just like any skill, it takes time and practice. So don't expect to master listening overnight.
That's right. Start by listening for just 10 to 15 minutes a day. Maybe you listen to a podcast episode or watch a short video. As you improve, you can extend the time. The key is consistency. Listening every day, even if it's just for a short period, will help you develop your skills faster than doing it once a week.
Another tip is to immerse yourself as much as possible. Try to surround yourself with English throughout the day. Listen to music, watch TV shows, or follow podcasts in English. The more you expose yourself to different accents and contexts, the better.
I couldn't agree more. And don't forget about context clues. When you're listening, try to understand the meaning of unfamiliar words by paying attention to the context. For example, if someone is talking about going to a party and they say something like, "I'm bringing a gift," even if you don't know every single word, you can guess they're talking about a present.
Exactly. And speaking of unfamiliar words, don't worry about understanding every single word. In fact, trying to understand everything can sometimes make it harder. Instead, focus on the big picture. Your goal is to get the main idea of what's being said. As your listening skills improve, those small details will start to fall into place naturally.
Absolutely. It's all about training your brain to focus on the most important information first. And over time, you'll find that your listening skills start to grow faster than you ever imagined. All right, so now we're going to dive into how to actually improve your listening skills. There's no magic trick to mastering listening, but there are some step-by-step methods you can follow. These methods will help you stay consistent and make real progress over time.
Exactly, Nancy. And the best part is that these methods don't require anything fancy. You just need practice and dedication. So let's break it down for our listeners.
The first method I always recommend is using subtitles. When you're watching a movie or TV show, turn on the English subtitles. This way, you can read along while hearing the words. It's like a double layer of support. You see the words and hear them, which helps reinforce your understanding.
And once you get more comfortable with the material, start removing the subtitles. It's a great way to gradually challenge yourself without feeling overwhelmed. You don't have to remove them right away. Just start by turning them off for short sections and see how you do. Over time, you'll be able to follow along without needing the subtitles at all.
Great point, Brian. Another tip is to listen multiple times to the same audio or video. The first time you hear something, you might miss some key details, but when you listen again, you'll catch things you didn't notice before. Listening multiple times helps reinforce what you've learned and makes it easier to remember.
I totally agree. I remember when I was learning French, I would watch the same YouTube videos multiple times. At first, I barely understood anything. But after a few listens, I started catching on. It's like the more you listen, the more you train your brain to process the language.
Exactly. And here's another tip. Focus on key words. Even if you don't understand every single word, try to catch the important words that will give you the general idea of what's being said. Sometimes you don't need to understand every word to get the message. Pay attention to the context and focus on the main ideas.
Right? And even if you miss a word here and there, don't stress over it. The more you practice focusing on key words, the more natural it will feel. And soon you'll start catching more and more of the smaller details.
Now let's talk about interactive exercises. These are super helpful for improving your listening in a more hands-on way. One exercise I love is called shadowing. Here's how it works. Pick a video or podcast where someone is speaking in English and immediately after they speak, try to repeat what they said.
That's a fantastic exercise. Nancy shadowing helps improve your rhythm fluency and your understanding of intonation, how the speaker stresses certain words or phrases. By mimicking their tone and pace, you're not only practicing your listening, but also your speaking.
Exactly. And another great exercise is dictation. Listen to short clips of audio and write down everything you hear. At first, you may only catch a few words, but with practice, you'll be able to transcribe longer sections accurately. This exercise helps with recognizing sounds and improving your overall listening comprehension.
Dictation is excellent for focusing on those tricky sounds, like the TH sound, or different vowel sounds. It's a great way to fine-tune your listening and get better at understanding even the most subtle parts of spoken English.
Now, let's talk about some resources you can use to practice listening. One of the best resources for English learners is, of course, podcasts and audiobooks. These are amazing because you can listen to them whenever you want on your way to work, while exercising, or even before bed.
Exactly. There are so many podcasts and audiobooks tailored for learners of all levels. At first, try to find podcasts that speak clearly and slowly with topics that interest you. As you get more comfortable, you can start listening to more advanced content. The key is to challenge yourself, but not to overwhelm yourself.
Yes. And if you want to take it a step further, try listening to TV shows and movies in English. This is both fun and educational. Start with shows that have simple dialogues like sitcoms or children's programs. These are usually easier to follow and help you get used to the flow of conversation in a more relaxed setting.
And as you get more comfortable, try watching shows with more complex dialogue, like dramas or talk shows. You'll be exposed to different accents, vocabulary, and speaking speeds. It's a great way to keep pushing your limits and improving your listening.
Let's talk about something else that often trips up learners: accents. English has so many different accents. British, American, Australian, and even regional accents within each country. Each accent offers a unique challenge, so it's really important to expose yourself to as many different accents as you can.
Yes. If you only listen to one type of accent, you might struggle when you encounter a different one. For example, an American accent might be a bit easier for some learners, but when they hear someone speaking with an Australian or British accent, it can throw them off. The key is to expose yourself to different accents regularly.
And here's a great way to do that. Try real-life listening situations. Real-life conversations are often much harder to understand because people speak quickly, use slang, or don't speak as clearly as in a textbook or podcast. But this is where your practice really pays off.
Exactly. Real-life situations force you to think on your feet, but the more you practice listening to different accents and in different contexts, the more comfortable you'll be in real conversations. Don't worry if it's hard at first, you'll improve with every interaction.
Now, let's talk about something really important: patience and consistency. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't seem to be clicking right away, but remember, every small step you take is progress. Maybe today you understood a new word or followed a conversation for a little longer than you could last week. Celebrate those moments.
That's such an important point. Nancy, progress doesn't happen overnight. It's all about consistency. Keep practicing every day, even when it feels difficult. Over time, you'll start noticing real improvements. And the best part is that you'll feel more comfortable in conversations, and that confidence will make a huge difference in your speaking and listening abilities.
Exactly. Keep practicing and keep reminding yourself that learning a language is a journey, not a race. Be patient with yourself and enjoy the process.
All right, let's quickly review some of the key vocabulary we've used today. These are words that will really help you when you're talking about listening skills.
First up, we have context. Context is the situation or background behind the words. It helps you understand the meaning of what's being said. For example, the word bank can mean a financial institution, but if you're talking about a river, it refers to the edge of the river. Understanding the context helps you get the right meaning.
Next, we have confidence. This is your belief in your ability to understand and communicate in English. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become in your listening and speaking.
And finally, we have application. This is about taking what you've learned and using it in real-life situations. Don't just listen passively. Apply your listening skills in conversations, practice shadowing, or try dictation.
So to wrap up, we've covered a lot today. You've learned why listening is so important, some great strategies to improve your listening, and how to stay motivated and consistent. Remember, it's a process that takes time, but with each small victory, you're getting closer to your goal.
Exactly. Progress may feel slow at times, but every step forward counts. Keep practicing and you'll get better at understanding English in no time. We believe in you.
We hope this episode has inspired you to start improving your listening skills today. And don't forget, practice makes perfect.
Thanks so much for listening. Keep practicing, stay patient, and most importantly, enjoy the journey. See you next time.